Okay, let's look at cellular layout, which is a hybrid of a job shop and an assembly line. We have discussed this in more detail again in lean operations because it is a typical kind of layout in a lean kind of facility. But I'll give a very quick overview of cellular layout. A cellular layout is a combination of the flexibility of a job shop and efficiency of an assembly line. Some parts of it looks like a job shop, whereas some aspects of cellular layout looks like an assembly line. How does it work? Let us look at this simple example, which I've adopted from Russell and Taylor. What you see here is a matrix which is showing there are A through H 8 parts, and each of these parts require different kinds of processes or machines, some kind of different activity, processing activity, 1 through 12. So if you look at A requires 1, 2, 4, 8, and 10. Then part B requires machines or processes 5, 7, 12. Part C requires 3, 6, 9. And you can look at the other parts. And this is again a very simplified example. In reality, you may have 200 different parts requiring any one of 20, 30 different processes or machines. The idea of group technology, which is a predecessor to cellular layout in the process. In group technology, you want to group the parts or products that require similar processes or equipment or machines. So there are a lot of simple tools that you can use. You can do that in Excel, group technology, or there are very sophisticated tools available today using which you can group the parts which require similar equipment or machines. So look at the simple picture here. It is exactly the same as this, but now what have we done? We have grouped the parts that require similar machines. Now look at this. A, D, and F. They all require a combination of 1, 2, 4, 8, and 10, these machines. Look at C and G. They both require 3, 6, and 9. And you can look at the third cluster. So you have created 3 clusters or groups here. A group that requires predominantly 1, 2, 4, 8, 10. A cluster or a group that requires machines 3, 6, 9. And a cluster that requires 5, 7, 11, and 12. So now, if you look at this entire facility, it is like a job shop because you can produce A through H, any one of these parts. It's highly flexible. But if I look at just this part, I can create like an assembly line of 1, 2, 4, 8, 10 because these 3 parts, A, D, and F, they all require only 1, 2, 4, 8, and 10 in that sequence. Now look at the last slide here. What it is, the first cell is 1, 2, 4, 8, 10. This is like an assembly line. All the parts are the products that are assigned to cell number 1 go through the sequence 1, 2, 4, 8, 10 like an assembly line. The second cluster is assigned to this cell 3, 6, and 9. These are machines. These are equipment. And all the parts assigned to cell 2 go through these 3 workstations. Finally, the cell number 3 is 5, 7, 11, 12, and you have the third cluster of parts assigned to this. So each one of these cells work like an assembly line, and all of these put together is like a job shop. The next type of layout where we will get some broad ideas is the retail store layout. Retail store layout. The next time you go to a retail outlet, whether it is a Giant Eagle or a Walmart or any place like that, if you have not done this or if you're not exposed to this, you may want to ask the manager during not so busy time if he or she can show you a planogram just for educational purpose. Make sure you tell them that you're not from a competitor. And what does it do? The planogram tells the store manager specifically which aisle, which level, which particular product has to be placed. The entire layout is going to be shown in the planogram. And the planogram, if you are a Giant Eagle or a Walmart, a major organization like that, in many cases, the planogram comes from their head offices because they monitor the demand. They monitor what is selling, when, where that product was laid out, and so on. And also based on who is going to pay how much money to place the product placement inside the facility. Based on all of these, the planograms are designed. And here we'll just talk about a couple of things. The retail store layout is a combination, is a function of both marketing and operations. Sales vary directly with exposure. That is why you see in every retail outlet, whether you're talking about department stores or grocery stores, you will see distribution of what we call as power items. What is a power item? Power item is not the most expensive item, the most profitable, neither. Power items are the items for which a customer goes to the retail outlet most often. Go to any grocery store. Again, go to a Walmart or a Giant Eagle or Martin's if you are from Indiana and that area. You will see almost all the time produce on one end, and you will see milk and bread on the other side. These are power items. You go to the grocery store, or typical customer goes to the grocery store most often to buy fruits and vegetables, and on the other hand, milk and dairy products, and bread and eggs. So what happens? Although inconvenient, the grocery store has made you travel from one end of the grocery store to the other end when you went from buying produce to dairy products. So in the process, what did they do? They exposed you to multiple products. If you are like me, I shop with a list, but I never stick to the list. Because when I go there, I see half a dozen other things that I want. If those are not exposed to me, I would not buy those products. Or if I take my daughter, she obviously gets exposed to many different products that I don't get exposed to. And if you're talking about a little kid, they make sure that the little kids' products are at their eye level, as you have observed. So sales vary directly with exposure. That is why companies distribute the power items so that the customer will traverse the entire retail outlet, and in the process, they may increase their sale. The third bullet, maximize profitability per square foot without compromising variety. Like I said earlier in the very beginning, you want to maximize the profitability per square foot. If that is your only objective, you would put cosmetics in the entire facility. But you also want to maximize variety. You want to have different kinds of products so that you can be a one-stop shop, but you want to make sure you maximize profitability. I want you to go and check the annual reports of Walmart, Kmart, and Target, or other competitors like that. You will see they publish the profitability per square foot. If not the profitability, sales per square foot. And you will see a dramatic difference between the sales per square foot in a retail facility in a Walmart compared to a Kmart, compared to a Target. And you obviously know whose sales per square foot is higher. That is a very important thing in laying out a facility. And in the retail store layout, you got to have very accurate and up-to-date information on inventory. How much is on inventory? When do you place an order? How frequently? How much? All of these are critical. When is my consignment coming from the warehouse or the distribution center or from the manufacturer or from a grower if it is produce? So that is very important in deciding how much space and where to lay out each and every product. Again, the retail store layout, there is a lot more marketing aspects, but these are some of the operations related aspects. And I have mentioned two different software there, Slim and Cosmos. Slim is store labor and inventory management, and it'll tell you when to reorder and reload the shelves based on the shelf space and the volume of sales. Cosmos, computer optimization and simulation modeling, will match the shelf space with delivery schedules, where the distribution center or the supplier dictates the delivery schedule, that they will deliver the product only on Mondays and Thursdays, or the consignment is going to come on the 1st and the 15th of each month. So based on that, you will decide how much shelf space that you need for every product. So these are some of the basic things in a retail store layout. An office layout. An office layout is very similar to what we discussed in process layout. If you recall, the job shop. If you recall, there also we used a from-to chart and a Muther's grid, or the relationship chart. Here also we do the same thing. How many times do we have communication between different offices, movement between different offices? We need to know that. And what is the relationship between different offices? You want to have the CXO offices very close to each other, the proximity of these offices. And what is the kind of interaction you have? So it is exactly similar to a process layout wherein you need a from-to chart and a relationship chart. Using those two, you can develop the office layout. And of course, two other things which we discussed in the very beginning, privacy is important, and you want to determine the level of privacy. In some cases, you may have high level of privacy. In some cases, privacy may not be an issue, depending upon the level of the employee and the kind of culture within the organization. In some organizations, the offices of the top management is not even accessible to the employees. Whereas in some more democratic organizations, you have access to the top employees in the organization very easily. And aesthetics. The more aesthetic the building is, the more area you need, the more thought that you need to put in to laying out the facility. And there is not much of a science to that, but it is an art. The next two layouts, the warehouse layout. The warehouse layout is fascinating because, like I said in the earlier example, a distribution center of Walmart or a Kmart can have more than 100 clients, that is 100 retail outlets. Even the size of a superstore of Walmart or a supercenter Kmart is so big. Imagine a warehouse or a distribution center which is supplying products to be sold in 100 of those Walmarts or Kmarts. And the amount of products, the volume of products that come in and come out of these distribution centers or warehouses is huge. Products coming from all the way from China to Asia and Latin America, and you bring all those products to the seashore, then to the distribution center, and from the distribution center, you ship the products all the way on a radius of 100, 200 miles to retail outlets. So you want to minimize the material handling time and cost. in the topic on supply chain management, I will talk about cross-docking. Cross-docking is the science of making sure that the parts that come in from the suppliers don't even enter the warehouse as much as possible. The truck that comes from the supplier is docked across from that of the truck that is going to the retail outlet, so that the parts may be transported directly from one truck to the other truck which is leaving for the retail outlet without spending the time and the money required to take the product into the warehouse and then bring it out of the warehouse. Sounds very good. It is a good idea, but really making it happen is not easy, because you gotta have real-time data and all kinds of positioning data of your trucks and other equipment that you're using, material handling equipment, but companies are moving more and more towards cross-docking with sophisticated information systems. In a warehouse, the idea is density. How densely can you pack things? Okay. What kind of material handling equipment are you using? There are a lot of warehouses and distribution centers where they use automated storage and retrieval systems, which, if you have not seen, are basically unmanned forklift trucks. The analogy is an unmanned forklift truck. You tell the ASRS to pick up a television set of a particular brand, a GE 60-inch television of a particular type. The ASRS can go to the particular aisle, particular level, and pick it up and put it on a conveyor which you can receive as a warehouse employee. How does it do that? It knows the exact coordinates of every product that is there in the warehouse. X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z. All the three coordinates, and it goes and picks it up and puts it on the conveyor. On the other hand, you may have human beings, workers, actually go there using a forklift truck, or they may go on foot, pick up things, and place it on the conveyor or bring it to the truck in a less sophisticated kind of warehouse. If you have people doing this, you can afford to pack things densely and sort of haphazardly. Whereas if you're using automated storage and retrieval system, you cannot afford to pack things very densely. And you cannot afford to put the products in nothing other than the perfectly designated place in the warehouse. Because even if you move it by a foot in the layout, the automated storage and retrieval system cannot differentiate between a GE television or a Sony television. All it knows is the XYZ coordinates. So the way you lay out your warehouses depends a lot on what kind of material handling equipment you're using. And there's a lot of other things, which are the fast-moving products. You want to place them closer to the loading dock, because you don't want to put them far away, because these are warehouses which can be the lengths of several football fields. So procuring some of these things, locating and bringing it to the loading dock, to the truck, or even putting it on the conveyor that goes to the truck is going to take more time. So the products that are not fast moving, they can be placed way on the back. And the ones that are moving faster, they can be placed closer to the loading dock. The last one is a fixed position layout. Like I said earlier, a fixed position layout is not really a layout. It is more of people, workers, coming to a particular location and then building a ship, building a spacecraft, building a dam. These are fixed position layouts. What is important here is good project management, which is another topic we have discussed. In project management, the idea is to make sure which kind of employees have to come at what time of the project. So if you're building a dam, if you're building a spacecraft, you got to know what are the sequences of processes or activities and what kind of trades of workers you need at each stage, and make sure you schedule them in such a way that they don't arrive too early or too late. If they arrive too early, you're paying them for nothing because they cannot get onto their kind of processes. If you're getting them late, then you're delaying the project, delaying the completion of the ship being constructed. And the other important thing in a fixed position layout is do as much of off-site fabrication as possible and bring the fabricated parts here to the particular facility and do the assembly. So this gives you an idea of the different kinds of layouts. And we have discussed in more detail, in more in-depth, the two manufacturing layouts, process and product layout. And the product layout, we have talked about assembly line balancing.